Hi everybody, this is Steve. Welcome to a different view on soil. I'm going to begin with something that is absolutely out of the blue. Human Gut Biome Project. It was started by the National Institute of Health in 2008 to identify as much of the human microflora as possible with the idea of finding a healthy model of microflora within us. It consists of a vast variety of bacteria that have now been identified and make up more than 10 times the number of cells in our body, which is absolutely amazing. And the numbers will be revealed to you shortly. It is also 1 to 3% of our body mass, which is approximately at 6 pounds the size of our brains. They are absolutely essential for maintaining health. What do? Some produce vitamins, some break down our food to extract nutrients, some teach our immune systems how to recognize what are referred to as pathogenics. They actually communicate from the gut to the brain to tell the brain what to produce in enzymes. And finally, anti-inflammatory compounds that fight off disease-causing microbes. This is a very interesting picture. They are referred to in the top phyla, and if you look to the right, you'll see a series of bacteria names. What's very interesting is that those names are also incredibly similar to the bacteria found in soil. There's an extremely important reason for that. Here's that slide I was telling you about. 100 trillion microbes in our body. Now here's the part that absolutely amazed me. 300 million exhaled per hour. I was thinking, okay, so how quickly would we go through that 100 million microbes by exhaling 300 million in an hour? However, microbes can also replicate in under 20 minutes. The scientist whose paper was about shaking hands, laughingly, he said that there are a few hands that he shook he did not want to wash his hands after because they were his star people, whether they were actors, actresses, or others in the science community. I always thought that was fun. So apparently, we can also absorb some of those microbiomes. Global bacterial weight, 100 trillion tons. Notice the similarity, 100 trillion microbes in each of our bodies, but then 100 trillion tons of bacteria in the world. These folks are the microbes that we can't see unless we have powerful microscopes. So how in the world scientists have come up with that weight, I don't know. Now we start beginning to move from the Gut Biome Project to actual soil. One of the main bacteria that you see in this slide is lactobacilli, and you'll notice that it's found in 3 different areas of the human gut. Lactobacillus, found in soil, is a decomposer. In other words, it is responsible for breaking down things in either our gut or our soil and changing the minerals found therein into a soluble state for either ingesting in our gut or uptake by plants. A teaspoon of productive, and this is very important, productive soil generally contains between 100 million and 1 billion bacteria. And from this colony, 18 essential micronutrients or elements are made ready for plant uptake. The interesting thing too is that plants can actually talk to bacteria and fungi with things called plant exudates. They are chemical signals, and those chemical signals will actually tell the bacteria and or fungi, hey, I need calcium or magnesium or whatever, or nitrogen, one of the basic pieces of growth promoting minerals. No, it's not really a mineral. Here is what soil looks like. If you have good productive soil, it consists of 45% minerals, 25% water, 0.5, which we never want to get to, or 5% organic matter, and there is that nitrogen. Nitrogen in our air makes up 78% of the air we breathe. So that air in the soil is also extremely important as a source of nitrogen, but not directly taken up by plants. The plants use bacteria to grab nitrogen and then provide it to plants. Our UP soil is predominantly either sand or clay, sand having very little organic matter and clay having very little moisture and air. So we want to change the soil we have locally, and how do we do that? Soil organic matter, it is extremely rich in nutrients, and at the same time, in our conventional farming, the problem we're running into is that they use salts to bind it's called NPK, the three primary sources of nutrients. By binding those nutrients into a pelletized format, it's real easy for farmers to spread this stuff on acres and acres of land very quickly. The problem is they're burning up to 29 million tons of organic matter every year in our fields. This is another rascal found in soil. It's called mycorrhizae. There are two types of mycorrhizae. There are endophyte and ectophyte. Approximately 90% of all vegetation in the world relies on endophytic mycorrhizae for a source of nutrient delivery. The cool thing is that through photosynthesis, a carbohydrate is produced which goes down into the root and feeds both bacteria and fungi. The endophytic mycorrhizae is literally like a hypodermic needle. It goes right into the root, connecting to the root, and can deliver or take. So it can deliver nutrients or it can take carbohydrate. Absolutely amazing. It's called mycelium. Absolutely amazing mycelium relationship. This is mycorrhizae up close, and as we've gotten much more aware of what mycorrhizae is, it is now estimated that under a single boot print in the soil of a forest resides 10 miles of mycorrhizae fungi. So if we improve our soil by improving the actual organic matter layer, adding bacteria, improving the fungal, we end up with better, more nutritious food. And that's the most important thing for you and I, animals, all of us as consumers. Mentioning consumer, a good soil is like a grocery store, but the cool thing is that plants only take what is needed at the time. So imagine going to a grocery store with a list. Today I need this, next week I'll need that. That's how plants behave. Now, let's take this thing local and learn how to build better soil. Starting with composting. Composting is a combination of grass clippings, leaves, and food scraps. I would highly recommend that you don't include citrus fruit rinds of any type. To break down the combination or correct ratio of combining grass, leaves, and food, you see that on the right. 10 pounds of grass, 13 pounds of leaves, 8 pounds of food scraps. You turn it, you wet it, and I would encourage you to add things like old milk. Why? Because milk contains lactobacillus. So now you're adding microbes. Add worms. They too, as they break down the foodstuffs in your compost pile, they produce beautiful bacteria that is only complementary to what is being produced in the compost pile. And I would then ask you to possibly add aged poultry manure or blood or fish or kelp meals. All of those contribute to a beautiful compost. This is what good compost looks like in the upper right-hand picture. So compost adds biologics, it increases nutrient cycling, water content, and air content, and it resists drought and pest infestation because it's building stronger plants. And again, locally you only need about a half a pound of compost per square foot in your garden. So every year you can be cycling your own compost pile and then add that in the spring. This is an example of raised beds, but the concept of how you use that compost slide. The bed design begins with a 6-inch layer of compost, 3-inch layer of garden mix, 1 inch of worm castings, and then all of that soil is covered with 2 inches of straw. Between the straw and the soil layer is the irrigation piping. So then water is put directly into the soil. It is not wasted as a spray onto the plants. Add biologics. What does that mean? There's a crazy concept called worm tea. Worm tea is built or created by over aerating compounds. In recipe 1, you'll see worm castings, organic molasses, humic acid, and local soil. Those are added to a 5-gallon pail of water and aerated very, very hard. It looks like boiling water, but in fact, we're talking about room temperature water. The pump is extremely important at a minimum 11 liters per minute pumping capacity. And there's a difference between a veggie-based or a perennial-based recipe. One, veggies, is more carbohydrate-based. Perennials is more protein-based. That's extremely important because you want to feed your plants the correct result. And there are many more recipes available either online or by getting in touch with me. So in summary, we want to build better soil to produce better plants. We do that by composting. We add lost nutrients back in by combining the grass, the leaves, the food scraps, the kelp meal, the blood meal, the bone meal, the fish meal, and we add microbes. The result is that we will grow better food in the soil we have in the UP. And by growing better food, our intestinal microflora will also improve, and we will be much better off in health. Thank you for listening. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.